The more they overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain. Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, Jesse Gender alerted me to the fact that Paramount Plus quietly snuck out the opening credits or title sequence, or whatever you want to call it, for Star Trek Prodigy. And nobody noticed or cared because no one's really paying attention, because I don't think anyone really cares. Despite the fact that visually it is the probably most stunning and most Star Trek-like series that they have produced so far. But the basic idea of a bunch of lawless teens running around in a starship doesn't really say Star Trek to many people, on account of Star Trek was about Starfleet and humanity, and there's no humans in the show at all. It's about a bunch of aliens and a hologram. So I'm getting a bit cynical. Now, I was actually expecting a lot of really beautiful visuals. I thought, well, at least it's going to look good. I don't know what it's going to contain, but it's going to look good. So it starts with space, and then some kind of generic science fiction sort of music, not very Star Trek. I was also expecting more of a theme. But it starts off and you just have this sort of purple sort of burst, like the ship's going to warp. And then all I was able to notice for the rest of the minute and a half was the fact that the ship was trailing exhaust like something out of the old Gold Key comics. I'm like, really? We know Star Trek ships, Starfleet ships don't have exhaust. They don't work like, they're not like an engine burning fuel. I'm like, seriously? This is really like the kind of images that they had in the old 1960s Gold Key comics, which were done by Italian artists who'd never seen Star Trek, whose concept of starships were that they were rocket ships, just like rocket ships from the old sci-fi comics. So I just couldn't get past that. Every time, even if there's a nice visual of a planet or some sort of environment, all I could see was the exhaust trailing through it. And I'm like, it's almost like they're trying to test Star Trek fans to see how stupid we are, because if we will accept even the most basic mistake, like exhaust coming from a starship, then we'll accept anything. It's like a test. It's like when they send you those emails and they tell you that some Nigerian prince is giving you $10 million. They're not trying to make up a believable story. They're giving you something that you will swallow, because they know if they get you on that, they can get you on anything. It felt like a test. And I'm watching it and I'm like, what? And there are some slightly interesting elements where they were sort of showing parts of, I guess, the characters and parts of Janeway's, the holograms programming, the ones and zeros, sort of the sort of matrix of them and that. So those sort of shots, close up, sort of flying over or through parts of the characters, were sort of thrown in there, as well as environments and planets and things like that. And it was all very beautiful, but I just couldn't get past the fact that they had exhaust coming out of the ship. And the other element that sort of threw me as well, when they actually show the ship go to warp, it has this giant change where some big, like, looks like a rocket thruster comes out the back of the ship, and it changes shape. And much like Voyager, it sort of does what Voyager does. And Voyager, that was a mistake with Voyager, because the idea of making the ship have to physically change in order to go to warp, you're just asking for technological problems. Like, oh no, we can't go to warp because the strut isn't in its place, all that sort of complication, which wouldn't be there in the future. You would not have a ship having to change shape in order to go to warp, because you are just asking for something to go wrong. When the ship is a solid structure, I mean, as Scotty said, the more they stop up the plumbing, the easier it is to... No, what is that saying? Oh, I'm not even going to try. I've forgotten what it's saying. But basically, the more complicated you make the technology, the easier it is to sabotage it or for something to go wrong. God, I wish I could remember that line from Star Trek 3 now. I'm so embarrassed that I couldn't remember that. But I haven't watched the film in years, forgive me. But yeah, I just was watching, I'm like, oh, God, can I just have one thing, even a credit sequence, without, story issues or narrative issues or political issues or character issues or actor issues, or just just the visuals. Can I just have some visuals that work? And there's something wrong every time, whether it's the uniforms or the style of the ship or the style of the show or the tone of the show or the politics of the show. Now we have to have the mechanics of the ship don't work. It's got exhaust thrust and rockets. I'm really trying to give New Trek a chance and not just hate automatically. But I just keep getting slapped in the face again and again and again. And I'm not like, am I supposed to enjoy this? I don't really get off on face slapping. I just don't. Not metaphysical Star Trek or like real. Like, I don't want my face slapped. I don't like, why? I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Bye.